So today we are diving deep into, well, one of the most practical topics for just navigating modern life.
Mm.
How to find clarity, how to find presence when we are just drowning in anxiety and, information.
And our sources for this deep dive aren't the usual suspects. We're not looking at TED Talks or bestsellers. We're going way back.
All the way back to ancient Roman philosophy,
Uh,
specifically Stoicism.
and our mission here is really to extract the actionable methods. I love the phrase, the lightning in the hand from the thunder in the mouth philosophy.
Yeah.
We want practical tools for this one central challenge, just managing our attention and achieving some peace by finally accepting that everything we value is temporary.
And we can start with a story that just perfectly captures this. I mean, imagine the scene, a Roman triumph.
The big parade.
The big parade, the
Yeah.
victorious general's riding through the crowds. He's basking in this glory that feels like it's going to last forever. But right behind him, there was an aide.
Yeah, often a slave.
And his only job was to lean in and whisper one sentence.
Remember, thou art Morgul. Memento mori.
It's such a jarring thing to hear at that
And it's
moment.
at the absolute peak of success, right? And that whisper, it just encapsulates the whole truth of this philosophy.
Yeah.
Everything we build, everything we gain, our own lives, it's all temporary.
It's so counterintuitive, though. We spend our whole lives building these, comfortable illusions of permanence. We think that if we just pretend our success or our relationships will last forever, we'll feel secure.
But the ancient sages, they argued the exact opposite. They said that kind of comfort is a trap.
It's a trap.
It's only by accepting that fragility, by recognizing that everything we have is on temporary loan, that we can truly appreciate what we have right now. The moment we accept it, our priorities just, they shift.
Okay, so if that's the core truth, then the challenge becomes where we spend our limited energy.
Right.
Because the great human struggle is living anywhere but right here in the present moment. We've become masters at outsourcing our attention.
Yeah, we're caught in what you could call the tyranny of tomorrow. We treat the present moment like it's just a waiting room for some future event.
We waste so much mental energy rehearsing tomorrow's anxieties. That meeting, that bill.
Or we're stuck replaying yesterday's failures.
I remember reading about the physician William Osler, who said, we should let each day's work absorb our entire energies. And we're failing at that.
We are, and this is why the philosopher Epictetus was so radical in his teachings about attachment. He insisted we have to learn to hold everything lightly.
Even loved ones.
Even loved ones. He told his students to see their child, their spouse, not as a permanent possession, but as a precious gift.
On temporary loan from nature.
Exactly.
Now, wait a minute, because that sounds harsh. That could sound really manipulative, couldn't it?
Yeah.
How do you make sure that that kind of clarity doesn't just turn into emotional distance?
That's a critical question, and it gets to the nuance of it. This isn't about being callous. It's about getting rid of the illusion that you have control. Epictetus wasn't asking you to withdraw your emotion. He was asking you to withdraw the expectation of permanence.
So it's the difference between loving someone because they're here versus demanding they never leave.
Precisely. If you mentally prepare for the possibility of change, and not just loss, but also growth or separation, you're actually more present for the time you do have.
Pretending it's permanent just sets you up for devastation.
Right, because you've built your mental walls on sand. Acknowledging fragility forces you to be intensely, completely present for the conversation, the hug, the quiet moment that is happening now.
And Seneca pushed this urgency even further. I mean, he had this really radical definition of death.
He did. He urged us not to see death as some far-off event on the calendar.
No.
Seneca wanted us to recognize that death is happening right now, literally. Moment by moment, breath by breath, our life is constantly being consumed.
That is intense.
It is.
It makes procrastination seem completely absurd. If a part of me is literally dying every second, how can I justify waiting for the perfect time?
You can't. It's the ultimate call to action because it makes mortality intimate. We have to get, as he said, up close and familiar with it. And if we let that reality inform our daily decisions, it just transforms our sense of urgency.
He clarifies what really matters.
Your integrity, your attention, your relationships. We stop postponing joy until conditions improve. So if this wisdom is so simple live now, hold things lightly, why is it so incredibly hard to actually do it?
I think because the teachers themselves weren't these perfect enlightened masters. They were messy, imperfect human beings, and their struggles are what make their wisdom so accessible.
Take Seneca. Here's a man who wrote so beautifully about simplicity and virtue. Yet he was one of the wealthiest men in Rome. He served the tyrant Nero. He was constantly challenged on his own hypocrisy.
And his reply to his friend Lucilius, who basically called him out on it,
Yeah.
it's just profoundly liberating. Seneca didn't pretend to be enlightened.
No, he admitted, he said, I'm not such a hypocrite as to offer cures while I am sick myself. He framed it as them both lying in the same ward, talking about their common ailment and just sharing remedies.
I love that image. Lying in the same ward. It just reframes the whole teacher-student relationship. You're not learning from some guru who's forgotten what confusion feels like.
Which is exactly what C.S. Lewis observed, right? Sometimes the fellow student who just struggled with the problem can explain it better than the master. Seneca's vulnerability gives you confidence because he validates the struggle.
And that immediately connects this abstract idea back to action. The intellectual part is simple. The living of it is the real work.
Exactly. The Bushido Code teaches that knowledge only becomes real when it transforms you, when it shows in his character.
You can read Marcus Aurelius 100 times, but if you don't act on it, if you don't pause before sending that angry email,
Then they're just thoughts floating in your head. Zeno knew this was the trap. He said well-being is realized through small steps.
so the challenge isn't getting more information. We're drowning in that. The challenge is testing our opinions in action day after imperfect day.
It's repetition, not revelation. That's what transforms us.
Okay, here's where it gets, for me, really interesting.
Mhm.
Because we need to talk about channeling our mental power, our brain, our imagination. They're unbelievably powerful tools.
They are, but like any tool.
Exactly. Like a gun or a knife, our sources remind us this tool can just as easily harm the user as it can serve them.
And we so often channel that creativity not into progress, but into catastrophic thinking, into fear and anxiety.
So to fight this, we have to look at how people manage focus under extreme stress. And the classic example is Marcus Aurelius.
The emperor, ruling during a plague, multiple wars, personal tragedy, he was living through a world crisis.
And he was facing an information overload on a massive scale. But what's so striking about his private journal, The Meditations, is how strategic he is with all this negative data.
When you read it, he's deliberately vague about the suffering. He passively accepts the plague, the grief. He doesn't waste pages dwelling on the horrible details of what he can't change.
But then he employs this powerful, active strategy. He devoted roughly 10% of his entire journal to detailed, specific gratitude.
And not just, I'm grateful, it was specific. For the people who helped him, the lessons he learned from them.
That 10% was his filter. It wasn't just a feel-good exercise. It was a strategic choice of where to put his attention.
In a world full of noise and negative stimuli, like a Roman plague or, modern social media, Marcus was actively defining what he was going to amplify with his focus. He was choosing the handle.
Which brings us right to Epictetus's famous metaphor. Every situation has two handles.
Right.
A colleague sends you a nasty email. You can grab the handle of resentment or you can grab the handle of objective assessment.
You can choose fear or you can choose opportunity. And Marcus's conviction was the ultimate expression of this. He wrote, "Convince yourself that everything is the gift of the gods, that things are good and always will be."
Okay, but hang on. Isn't that just self-delusion? If I'm convincing myself everything is a gift when the world is clearly suffering, isn't that just denial?
It's denial if it stops you from taking action. But in the Stoic context, it's about utility. It's the highest leverage handle you can grab.
What do you mean by that?
When external reality is inescapable, like a pandemic, Marcus is choosing the mindset that allows him to function with integrity. He's choosing to amplify the parts of reality that are useful and controllable, which is his response, his attitude, his effort.
So it's not changing the facts, it's changing the frame to focus your limited attention on solutions, not symptoms.
Precisely. He's choosing the best operating system for a crisis, and focusing our attention inward is critical, but we don't exist in a vacuum.
No.
This is where Robert Greene challenges that comfortable modern illusion we have. The idea that our psychology is somehow separate from our environment.
This is huge, especially when we talk about workplace stress. We spend so much time on individual resilience, and we forget the gravitational pull of the groups we're in.
And our sources are clear. Being in a dysfunctional group can make a healthy, rational person neurotic and unstable. It doesn't matter how much self-help you read if you spend 8 hours a day in a corrosive environment.
And a dysfunctional group is one that thrives on political games, right? Where credit is hoarded, energy is wasted on infighting passive-aggressive emails.
And fear of change. That environment just feeds every inner enemy we have.
But conversely, a high-functioning group can make us healthy and whole.
Yes. Those groups focus on the work itself, on adapting, on maximizing resources, on intellectual humility.
They bring out empathy. They exert what our sources call an upward pull. They give you confidence. They connect you to your social nature, and they hold you to a higher standard. You just feel energized.
Les Brown's insight fits here perfectly. If there's no enemy within, the enemy outside can do us no harm. But the groups we choose either feed those inner enemies, our doubt, our resentment, or they starve them.
That's powerful. If your environment rewards complaining, it strengthens your impulse to complain.
It's that simple. And we are profoundly shaped by the company we keep. Aristotle said good habits formed early matter, but consciously choosing good environments and groups. That makes all the difference at any age.
So what does this all mean? We've covered impermanence, the wisdom of imperfect guides, channeling attention, the upward pull of a group.
Yeah?
The single theme that runs through it all, I think, is the absolute necessity of action over theory.
That's where that Apache proverb just drives the point home. It is better to have less thunder in the mouth and more lightning in the hand.
All the talk is useless if it doesn't show up in your character.
It's just noise, intellectual distraction.
Bruce Lee said a goal often serves simply as something to aim at. The target gives you direction, but the practice is the point.
Right. And Sam Snead, the golfer, said, practice puts brains in your muscles. We don't think our way into right action.
We act our way into right thinking.
Yeah. It's the repetition, not some big revelation, that transforms us.
And that transformation doesn't happen in one big choice. It happens in today's small, maybe even tedious choices. Which handle you grab for that email, where you place your attention during the news.
And which group of people you commit your time and your integrity to.
These small steps determine the entire trajectory. And this brings us right back to Les Brown's progression for happiness. If you are not willing to risk, you cannot grow.
If you cannot grow, you cannot be your best.
If you cannot be your best, you cannot be happy. Risking the comfort of what you know, that's the entry point. Happiness is just the natural outcome of becoming who you can be.
And Confucius tells us, no matter where you go, there you are. We carry ourselves with us. But we can shape that self. Leonardo da Vinci said that just as a well-spent day brings happy sleep, a life well used brings happy death.
So here's the final thought. Marcus Aurelius faced plague, economic crisis, intense political division. It sounds very familiar. The external conditions are often similar across centuries. The real question for you, the listener, is whether you will accept who you are in this moment. Imperfect, mortal, but capable, and just start making the small choices. Are you going to keep postponing joy until conditions improve? Or will you accept who you are, choose the higher handle, and simply commit to eating healthily, sleeping well, breathing deeply, and actually enjoying your life right now? Will you listen to the whisper?